And I want to come back to you. I want to bring you a story that I found quite interesting and honestly, man, kind of dark. Is Tim Walz responsible for murder? Possibly. And it's really kind of a dark story, but I'm going to kind of piece it together and present to you what I found. I'm going to also put what Benny Johnson had to say on this as well. But the fact of the matter is, the man that allegedly killed those folks in Minnesota, he wrote a letter saying that Tim Walz told him, instructed him to kill those politicians. Now, did he? Again, I don't know, but it's strange to me. Number one, the letter definitely has not been released, and they have said over and over again, there is no manifesto, there is no, and apparently there is a letter, a confession in a way, and in the mainstream media, they've reported, they were very quick to report that the man, the alleged killer, was apparently a deranged MAGA man, a MAGA supporter. And, that's not true. They definitely found that out not to be true. But, again, they reported this. Guys, watch and see what I found and see again what Benny Johnson had to say on this as well. Watch. All right, guys, but here's a picture of the alleged killer Vance Bolter. And I'm going to read to you guys in a rambling conspiracy letter addressed to the FBI, alleged assassin Vance Bolter claimed Governor Tim Walz instructed him to kill U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar so that Walz could run for U.S. Senate, according to two people familiar with the contents of the letter. The letter is the clearest evidence of Bolter's mindset after the targeted violence against Minnesota politicians last week. In the incoherent, 1.5 pages long, confusing, and hard to read, according to two people familiar with the letter with contents, it includes Bolter's alleging that he had been trained by the youth military off the books, and that Walz, who was not running for Senate, had asked him to kill Klobuchar and others. Guys, I don't know if any of this is real. I truly don't. But we have to wonder. Because again, everything was clear. They wanted to say the mainstream media, they passed all the information along. Saying that he was a MAGA supporter, and he was not. I guess apparently, and I'm gonna put up what Benny Johnson had to say on this, but apparently they said he was MAGA, and now they're saying, no, he was not. As a matter of fact, there was posters for the No Kings rally protest, found in his vehicle. So, again, there's a lot of information that we don't know. But the mainstream media was very transparent about that, but not so much this letter. And, again, this is very concerning to me. But here's what Benny Johnson had to say on this. Watch.
Seems very off, everyone said. And now it turns out to be true. Now, here's what we know. We know that his wife worked for Tim Walz. Here's the proof. She worked for Tim Walz in 2011 when he was a congressman. We know that he had an anti-Trump No Kings posters in the back of his vehicle, not exactly MAGA activities. We know that he was a murderous monster. At least that's what the authorities say. This is him. in this strange footage. I wish they'd release all of it, with a latex mask on, dressed like a police officer. This is before he committed his murders. We know that the police officers engaged him outside of the house of the Speaker of the House, a Democrat named Melissa Hortman in Minneapolis, dressed like this. They got into a firefight, and then they let him enter the home and commit the murders and then escape, which makes no sense to me. No one's yet been able to explain that to me. Doesn't make any sense. We know the police fired a hail of bullets. Somehow the out of shape, limping, overweight Vance Bolter was able to get away and escape, even though they had the house surrounded. And then this master criminal just kept leaving clues like this, straight out of a Scooby-Doo novel. Here's his hat that just happened to be found on the side of the road. Vance Bolter himself was appointed by Governor Walz. Here's the letter of appointment. Business member for the governor's Workforce Development Board. This is a prestigious workforce, and here's Tim Walz's signature. So the two definitely knew of each other. I mean, that Tim Walz is signing the paperwork with his name on it. I mean, there's no way to argue against that. But the question remained, why the hell would this guy do this? He has a very strange background. He worked for an NGO that was relocating Africans to Minnesota. Again, that don't make no sense. He left his family of 5. He commits these murders. He's found in a field. There's something missing here. Well,
guys, now what's concerning to me is that this individual that says Vance Bolter or whatever his name is, he was able to win in a way a shootout with the cops. The cops were already there before he killed the senator and her husband. The cops were there. And, so he was able to break into the house with the cops being there, allowed to kill her and her husband. And then somehow an overweight, older individual was able to somehow get away, right away, and also leave a convenient streak of clues behind him. I mean, really, I mean, this really does not make sense. And then the man said in his letter that was supposed to go to Kash Patel, the current director of the FBI. He said the military trained him to kill. And not only did the military train him to kill, but Tim Walz was the one who appointed the hit. So again, a lot of very unanswered questions. And again, the mainstream media skips over this. Why? Again, they don't skip over anything else. They make up stories about this man being a MAGA supporter and everything else. He's not. So why do they skip over this? Because again, it does not fit the narrative. And also, the home, the crime scene was broken into after the fact. Somebody broke into the crime scene and apparently took nothing, no valuables, no nothing, but broke in and left. Again, how convenient. I mean, to me, this sounds like a cleanup job. Again, why would anyone break into an active crime scene?
He killed 2 and seriously injured 2 others. Today, we're finding out he wrote a letter to the FBI claiming he was trained by the U.S. military, quote, off the books, and that Tim Walz asked him to kill Amy Klobuchar so he could take her Senate seat. Belter's facing state and federal murder charges.
According to the USA Today, police are investigating a reported break-in at the home of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman, a lawmaker slain in what authorities say was a political assassination. In a statement released on Wednesday, police say the Twin City suburbs of Brooklyn Park said plywood that had covered the window in the back of the house was pried off and the window was broken to gain entry. Let me scroll down just a hair here. Okay. This to me, guys, makes no sense. The statement added that though it appears someone had searched the home, family members don't believe anything is missing, and the evidence linked to the homicide has already been collected. And again, guys, they say everything has been collected and whatever, but I don't know. It does not ring right. I'm sorry. A suspect has not been identified. The police are seeking help from the community, especially any possible video evidence. The home had been boarded up after investigators completed their examination of the pre-dawn Saturday slaying of Hartman and her husband Mark. And family members removed personal items on Tuesday. Vance Bolter, 57, was arrested Sunday after an intense manhunt and faces both state and federal murder charges, including multiple counts of murder and stalking. And again, guys, man, I'm not saying, I'm not saying I know. But what I am saying is this does not look good. We have to truly understand. This guy wrote a letter addressed to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, saying that he was trained by the military to assassinate these folks and then told who to kill by Tim Walz, the former vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. I mean, again, you can't make this shit up. You can't. And to me, it's truly scary. And then the guy is allowed somehow to basically win a shootout with the cops. He was already at the house. And the cops, he had a shootout with the cops. And then broke into the house with the cops there after the shootout with the cops. And then went in and killed Hartman and her husband. And then escaped. An overweight man with a limp escaped, leaving a string of clues behind him. And then after the manhunt was found in the field, it truly does not make sense. And then the house, the crime scene, was broken into after the crime. And again, supposedly everything was collected and whatever, but again, we don't know. We truly don't. And the crime scene was broken into. Who in the hell would risk breaking into an active crime scene? Who? To me, it sounds like a cleanup job. And again, man, I'm not saying I'm right, but it does sound like a cleanup job. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think.